This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk. Are you serious? With my co-host, the Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez, who's running a little late this morning, so hopefully he'll be here by the time we do the open. If not, we'll get started and bring Carlos in when he gets here. Welcome to everybody. Welcome, Roku subscribers. Good to see you here. You can go to the Roku channel, by the way, guys. And if you have a Roku TV or a Roku stick, you can add the Northeast Streaming Sports channel. We've started to post some schedules. I think only Sundays is out right now. But this show airs on Fridays. It'll still be live, as we've talked about. It'll be live on Fridays on our normal, our traditional outlets, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. But it'll air at noon on Fridays on Roku. Our Sunday Stream of Consciousness show, again, still live at 9 a.m. on our traditional outlets, will air on Roku at noon as well. And our Wednesday college football / basketball huddle show will air still live at 7 p.m., but it'll air on Roku on, good question, Thursdays at noon again. And then you'll catch all my weekly vlogs and whatnot as well. So, again, thanks to the groups that allow me to share this on Facebook. Thanks to all of you who come in. Our regular viewers already had some chats with Alan this morning. Good morning, Dave Guyette. Good to see you. We're going to be talking today. By the way, the weather here in the Northeast, it's going to be frigid here. Finally, winter seems to be coming. Our winters are getting more and more mild, but we got a cold snap coming and finally a snowstorm, it looks like Sunday into Monday of maybe a foot or more. We'll see if that comes to fruition. So be safe out there if you're in the Northeast. Today on the show, we're going to talk about, hopefully Carlos will make it. I have not seen or heard from him, so hopefully everything's okay with Carlos. But we'll go through our topics and we'll jump into them, and we'll certainly look at Alan. Good morning, Alan. As I said, Alan just got out of work, but he's here, and it's 60s there, I believe, in Oklahoma is where Alan is. Big Cowboy fan. So today's topics. We're going to talk about the coaching changes. You know, which ones were accurate, which ones were mistakes potential. We'll talk about the GM changes as well and kind of reflect on those. We'll look at some potential replacements. I've got a list of 8 coaches that I think will fill these 8 spots. 7 if the Raiders don't actually make a change. That's going to be interesting to see if they keep Rick. I'll never say his name right. Versace, I'll say. I know I'm probably saying it wrong. But we'll talk about those replacements. We'll talk about the quarterbacks we trust most and least as we head into the playoffs. We'll look at the playoff matchups themselves this weekend and make some predictions. And if we have time, we'll get to the NBA and look at some contenders, pretenders, and possible sleepers. So we'll see what we have time for today. And again, unfortunately, Carlos, the Mad New Yorker, has not joined us yet. I'll send him a new invite just in case. Hang on, bear with me 1 second while I do this. Shouldn't take but a second. We do hope everything's all right with Carlos. And certainly if something's come up, we certainly understand. Life has a way of jumping up and catching us off guard. So, Carlos, if you're out there, hope everything's all right. I'm sending you a new email just in case you didn't get yesterday's. Okay, anyway, let's jump right into things here, guys. Big game Saturday night. We'll get into that too, Dave. Big game with the Bills and Patriots. Dave and I are on opposite sides of that, as you who watch the show obviously know. But let's take a quick look at. Let's see. All right, we're going to start with the coaches who got hired and fired. Let's start out. I guess we'll start. I'm going to comment. My comments are going to be: should he have been fired? Should he not have been fired? And we'll also talk about. I'm not going to talk necessarily about the replacements at this time. At the end, I'm going to go through 8 coaches I think will get the jobs, and I'm going to predict where they go. Houston fired yesterday. The latest firing, David Culley, was fired, as was his offensive coordinator Tim Kelly. Yeah, whether this was fair or not, I just don't know, because look at David Culley was put into a no-win situation. To not give him more time there is probably a bit ludicrous. I mean, obviously they didn't have a great season, but he had no quarterback. But David Mills made some progress. That team may, if they put some playmakers in place, there's a lot of things to fix there. They're not going to be a contender for a few years. But McNair has shown he wants to win. And I think it might be a good job down the road. Right now, this could be an atrocious job, because I'll tell you what, I think Alan brought up earlier that, he asked me if he thought that Flores would go there. Yeah, we're going to get to him in a second. In fact, I'll jump to that right after this. Alan had asked me if I thought Flores might get that job in Texas to keep Watson there. I don't think Watson's going to play, and I've said this a lot. I don't think Watson's playing in the NFL again. Way too much baggage there. The NFL has got to stay on top of these off-field situations that, are not acceptable. And they've got to stick to some kind of, code of conduct policies. So that's got to be done. So David Culley out. Who's going to get the job here? I guess I'll just give you my picks as I go through here. I think Todd Bowles will be the pick here. And Todd Bowles, you know what, had one good season, no playoffs with the Jets. Didn't do a horrendous job with the situation he had to deal with until maybe the end. But again, coaches often learn from that first foray. Look at Bill Belichick. I mean, you may hear me mention Bill Belichick more than once today. Bill Belichick did not have great success in his first go-around in Cleveland for a multitude of reasons. He took the team to the playoffs once, but then he had to go through the whole deal of Cleveland moving to Baltimore, which, again, that was beyond his control and shouldn't have happened. So we'll jump to Miami now. Brian Flores is fired surprisingly on Monday after doing a really good job in Miami, winning 10 games last year, 9 games this year, and turning around a team that had been nowhere at the time. Now, the rumors out of Miami are that Flores was having some issues with the GM there. He'd had some issues with Tua. They got into some shouting matches during the season, during games, in the locker room. And I say, so what? Brian Flores is, I think, a strong leader. He's changed the culture in Miami from where it was under Adam Gase. And you Jet fans don't need to know about what Adam Gase can do to a culture. And to me, this is ridiculous. And Brian Flores will not be out of a job long. In fact, I'm predicting Brian Flores will go to the Giants myself. Here comes Carlos now. As soon as I see him pop in, there he is. Let's add Carlos to the show. Carlos, good morning.
Morning, Keith. How you doing today? Good morning, everybody.
I'm glad you're doing okay. I was a little worried about you for a minute.
No, I just had my dropping off the kid to school, and he forgot a couple things. So,
well, that's what kids do. Well, welcome this morning. Glad you're in. I just started talking about the changes, and I'll back up a little bit to catch you up. I was talking about David. I started with David Culley getting fired yesterday, and I think it's an unfair decision by the Texans, as David Culley had nothing to work with this year. But they did make some progress, I thought, late in the year. David Mills showed some promise at quarterback. I don't know if he'll be their quarterback of the future, but he did show some promise. And I thought that this was a mistake. What were your thoughts on the Texas firing? Can you hear me, Carlos?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Carlos seems to be having some technical issues. I don't think he's hearing me. Carlos, maybe you want to. Yeah, Carlos will be back in. Anyway, I'll continue on Flores for a few minutes. Let's see what we got. I'll get some of your comments here. So, Alan, he wanted Herbert, and the ownership drafted Tua. Well, it's a good point. Look at if the ownership is choosing Flores over Tua, that's a huge mistake. If there's bigger problems within the organization with Flores and other people, well, then okay. But let's again remember, this is a Bill Belichick disciple, and one of the criticisms I heard was that he had carried himself a lot like Belichick and turned people off. Well, guess what happened after Bill Belichick lost his first job? So let's get Carlos back in here. Carlos?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was
okay.
Trying to flip the camera on, and I'm using a phone instead of a laptop today. So, yeah. Well, the thing about Belichick and him getting fired from Cleveland and coming back, I don't know if you can say the same thing right now about Flores, because.
Well, you can't because we don't have the next 20 years to look forward to, right? So
that, and these young guys, they talk a lot, they have a good NFLPA, so, players hear things, they're gonna be trepidation about who they're playing for, and whether it's a good fit for them. So when people talk and things like this come out, it doesn't bode well for people for coaches looking for a job in the future, for sure.
Things like that he can't get along with a quarterback who won't go along with the way he wants things done.
Yeah, I think it was his form of trying to motivate Tua.
Yeah.
And you get him focused, but it's not a good look at all, So, and if it's quarterback talking, if it was somebody else like a kicker or O lineman, those guys are they're important parts of the team, but they're not the heart and soul of the team as far as like when it comes down to laying down those contracts, right? You don't build your team around a kicker, right? So or
no, but you use your quarterback as a example sometimes. Bill Belichick did it for 20 years in Miami, good grief, in New England, and that's one of the reasons Tom Brady left is after 20 years, by the way.
Right, but
he didn't like being the whipping boy, but that's how he motivated the rest of the team. You can't, cop quarterback.
Yeah, so everybody's motivated differently. Everybody has different expectations, right? So this is like the time that we're getting into now in NFL, NBA, and sports, right? So you have to feel like you belong, like you want to be there. Like there's a lot of things that have to happen for you to be successful, and that to be motivated to be a good athlete. And if it's your coach and it's somebody that you don't feel like is going to help you, well, because if you look at it, Tua was doing pretty good after game 4, game 5. He started picking, his stats just kept getting better. So I don't know. Like,
look I got to tell you that if this is a choice between Flores and Tua, then the Miami Dolphins made a huge mistake for their immediate future and their long-term future. But it remains to be seen. I've got a candidate here that I like for this job, by the way, and I think it's going to be Kellen Moore will get this job. What are your thoughts on the Miami opening?
Kellen Moore, well, Miami has a lot of tools in that offense. If they bring in a defensive-minded coach, that's going to change the scale.
Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator.
Right. So if you bring in someone like Kellen Moore, who's offensive-minded, who's going to be his defensive coordinator, right?
Wow. You got to hire we've had this discussion many times, right? If your strong suit's offense, you got to get a really strong defensive coordinator and vice versa. So obviously you got to bring in somebody that can handle that side of the ball. And I'm confident that he would. I think Kellen Moore is going to get a job this year for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Which one?
He's young. Like, is Tua going to follow someone like Kellen Moore? That's the question right now.
So again, if we're hiring coaches just so who our quarterback likes and will, get along with, name me a Super Bowl coach, maybe ever, that everybody in a team universally loved. I can't think of one. And you?
Well, it's not about universal love. It's about wins and losses, right? So is Kellen Moore, does he have enough wins under his belt to swing that job in Miami? Like, he looks, some of the stuff that the Cowboys have done looks okay, but,
their offense has been lights out since he's been there, really. Except for when Dak was out, it wasn't necessarily.
Right. I was going to say, so I don't, it depends on what happens in Miami. Unfortunately, it's going to depend on leadership that's not consistent, that's not on the same page. So that's a proven fact right there, right? So
give me a name you think that's going to be at the top of the list there.
Leftwich?
I got Leftwich going to Jacksonville myself.
Yeah.
Which will put us, since we're on that, well, that was certainly a warranted firing. Urban Meyer in way over his head. I made a huge mistake. I thought he'd be a fit, but he just never bought in. And I think Leftwich is the guy who's going to get the job there.
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville, he'll be back home, right? That's where he started his career.
But
if they go another route, I think Leftwich just wants to stay. Florida is his place, right? Like, he's comfortable there. He knows the state,
There's something I hadn't thought of, but Moore's a lefty and can help in that way. I don't know if that really matters, Alan, but, it is a fact that Moore was a left-handed quarterback, as is Tua. Listen, before I go any further, I want to welcome in, we got a new follower today, and I'll probably mispronounce your name. Maybe Carlos can help me. I'm going to say Isiko. Raymond from the Uganda. This is our first viewer that I've seen from Uganda. So welcome to the show. And I hope you follow TGI Sports Talk shows throughout the week, Psycho, and welcome. So there's two jobs we talked about. I talked about the Texans before you came on. I was talking about Cully. I thought it was unfair to him. He had no shot this year. I know you might have heard the comments about Mills and whatnot, but
I feel bad for Texans as far as like the team right now. They're, they have to figure out whether they're going to keep Watson or are they going to let him go. They have to figure out a new coaching staff again. So it's like their leadership is like Miami's leadership right now. And if you're a coach, if you're a new coach, do you want to go into those, murky water? Like you want a clean slate, right? So if you know that Harbaugh is not going to Miami or to Texas, right?
No.
So you got to look to see where these coaches' heads are at, right? And what's going to happen right now is the playoffs in the NFL with the Patriots. If the Patriots lose, is that offensive coordinator gone?
Josh McDaniels is a wild card in this whole musical chairs. Whether people really want him is a question, and whether the Patriots are going to give him more to stay like they did the last time when he burned the Colts. He's going to be a huge wild card. I think Bowles is a guy who may end up with the Texans here. Todd Bowles might be the guy here.
If I'm Todd Bowles, because I had that experience in New York with the Jets, I'm not going to Texas, man. I'm even if it's another head coaching job, man. You don't even have like the same thing with the Jets. They didn't have a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have a foundation, And my thing is that they should have kept Cully for another 3 years. It would have been easy. It would have been an easier bet for them. They would have been, the coaching staff, the team. You would have, if you want to start clean, this Watson thing is going to hold them down for sure.
Well, I don't see. Well, Watson, I still don't think he'll ever play in the league again. That's just. I've said that from the beginning, and I'm going to stick to that until I'm wrong. But David Culley, in my mind, did nothing to warrant getting fired. I mean, how many games did they think they were going to win? I think he did a good job winning a couple of games, for crying out loud.
Right, he won the 4 games, and the 4 games weren't. They were the ones that he won weren't bad, right? Like
the Titans. I mean,
number one Titans.
And David Mills did make some progress, I thought, through the season. And whether he's going to be a starting quarterback for a long term, I don't know. But he did make some progress to give at least some hope to that position there.
Well, I mean, what if Culley said Mills isn't the guy, and the Texans were like, we don't have any money to spend on a quarterback, and that's the reason they let him go. We don't really know. We just know that they have Mills, they have Watson, and now they need a new coach.
Well, that's Alan's loving that Cowboy coordinator, Kellen Moore. He's a big Cowboy fan, so I think Kellen Moore will get that job. Let's move on to the Giants and Joe Judge. I think Joe Judge would have been safe if you'd asked me like 3 weeks ago, but Joe Judge went on this tirade. He couldn't shut his mouth week in and week out the last couple of weeks, and he talked himself into getting fired, and probably rightfully so. The team needed to start over. It wasn't going to be fair to Judge or the new GM to have a new GM come in with that baggage. So probably best that they got rid of both Gettleman and him.
Yeah. So Judge's big issue, right, was the fact that he couldn't get anybody to motivate enough to score enough on that team. The defense was okay, but I mean, you went ahead and you fired your OC, blaming him, and then you did turn around and you didn't make it any different, right? So The proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. Like, you got these guys on these contracts, Saquon, you got the offense is supposed to be legit, but there are a bunch of injuries going on over there. So, things weren't going in his favor anyway this year. So I think it was better for him, whether he realized it or not, and the Giants, that they parted ways.
Yeah.
Because now he doesn't have to worry about a new GM. He can worry, he don't have to worry about whether they're going to get a new quarterback or not. Like, there's a lot of things that when you go into a season, you want to be able to go on with a good foundation, like you're going to pick up players, you're going to lose players, but you want to make sure that you have a quarterback,
Yeah, unlike some other guys who I've compared to Belichick in the second chance, I don't think Joe Judge is going to get that second chance in the NFL. I think things were too dysfunctional, I think, especially at the end, and I don't think he's going to get another chance.
No, I see maybe Judge going back with Saban.
I think he'll get a job. I mean as a head coach in the NFL. He'll go somewhere and rehabilitate his reputation as a coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah, but he'd had a decent season, and he's young, so I could see him getting a second chance. Maybe not in the next 2 to 3 years, but maybe in 5 to 10 years. Like he's not going to be that much old. He's going to be a little bit older, and hopefully he'll get his resume.
Yeah,
looking good.
I have penciled in Brian Flores as the next Giants head coach. I do think he'll be back in the league this year, and I think the Giants might recognize the Bill Belichickness in him and make this bold move.
That's a tough call. I mean, he's from New York, right? Yep. He's from Brownsville. So, man, oh man, I don't know if Giants fans will be okay with that. To be honest with you,
what are the Giants fans going to be okay with?
I don't think anybody that's going to be the next head coach for New York Giants, the Giants fans are going to be okay with it until the Giants start winning. So that'll like Flores.
So Flores could be the guy.
Oh man,
unless they go out and make some big hire for a big name. They bring Bill Cowher out of retirement, which isn't happened. Then Giant fans will be happy in the beginning. Otherwise, you're right; they're going to be down on whoever they get.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The Giants, right now they've been interviewing people left and right since they fired Gettleman and Judge. They brought in the Buffalo GM, assistant GM, and then they're looking at different
Well,
ways of how to improve.
They
So I don't know.
Mara's made the decision that he's going to hire a GM and let the GM hire the coach, which is the way it should work. But they got to do this quickly, or the coaches, will get snapped up here. This is hiring season through the playoffs, as we all know too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been a few days. There hasn't been a hiring yet of any of these coaches, so been a lot of talk. I think it's going to get a little bit the carousel will get spinning a little quicker once the playoffs die down, because a lot of these owners are looking at some of these playoff teams and maybe want to pick some of these pockets. Kansas City have a few guys on their staff.
Eric Bieniemy. Let's bring up Eric Bieniemy right now, and I would like to see Bieniemy getting a job. I don't have him penciled in as I was looking at the openings and who I think will go where. But how does Eric Bieniemy still not have a job? But Jim Caldwell, not a bad football coach, got the Colts to the Super Bowl, but he comes up his name comes up for every open position in the NFL, it seems, and he's just another retread. But Eric Bieniemy doesn't get a shot.
Yeah, but I think that's up to Eric Bieniemy as well. Like a lot of people don't give some of these young black coaches who are in the up a lot of credit as far as you're not going to make me a scapegoat, right? You might give me an opportunity to interview, but don't make me a scapegoat either. Some of these teams, man, they're in the NFL for sure, but these low ranking teams, you don't want to. It's not that you don't want to be a part of that and make and that you can make them better, but if you don't make them better in 2 to 3 seasons, you're a scapegoat, right? Like Bowles.
Well,
like the Jets, when they hired Bowles is actually a pretty decent coach.
We got 4 years, didn't he?
I think Bowles had like 3, and they didn't give him the 4th, right?
Maybe it was 3. I thought he might have had 4, but whatever. You're right. Like, it's a win now league. You got to win, or
right.
You see it with Judge. You see it with a lot of guys.
And if you're Jim Harbaugh, it's the same thing. Like you had your name already, run through the mud. Like you don't need to be in a bad situation, even though you probably can make it better. But you don't want to go into a bad situation to make it better. You want to go into a good situation and win, right? Well, so I mean, you could offer me the coaching job in the Texans, and I look at you and be like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to be gone in 2 days, and you making me look like the worst coach of the century, right?
Well, before I move on, I want to segue into Harbaugh and where I think he might be. There's an open job that fits him. I think a couple open jobs, but one of them may not be open. Before I go on there, Alan talks about Caldwell going to the Giants. I do not think that's a hire that would excite Giant fans at all.
Well, so. I would be okay with that. But Giant fans, me as a Giant fan as well, I'm like, look at it, our hands are in the air, like, okay, we got rid of a coach again in a 2 year process. Like, what's gonna even if you bring in a GM and a coach, we're gonna need 3 to 4 years, man. And I think that Giant fans already kind of like are shaking their head and like they know this. They're not gonna be playing for the Super Bowl next year, probably not. So,
Well, back to Harbaugh. I do think Harbaugh will be in the league this year in either Chicago or the Raiders. The Raiders, I don't know, are going to get rid of Rick. I'm going to say his name wrong again. Bisaccia. He's done a great job since he's been there. They're in the playoffs. If they win a game in the playoffs or 2 games, they're probably not going to fire him. So as much as Harbaugh gets talked up for the Raiders and his friendship with Davis and having Derek Carr, which you and I have a debate on, but I think the place for Jim Harbaugh is the Bears. And actually, Alan thinks that Flores would be a good spot for the Bears. I noticed that back in the comments a little while ago. Flores
and the Bears is actually not a bad. But the problem now, again, the ownership. You just had a stopgap coach. He took a QB in the first round. And didn't do anything with him. I don't even think Trubisky was as good as he played for Chicago. I don't think he was worth the first round draft pick. But I mean, and the only thing that proves me wrong is the fact that without him they were losing. So, it's a. I mean, Chicago has a good defense. To be honest with you,
They do.
A couple more pieces in that defense to solidify it. They got an okay offense. The rookie's not bad. Again, if you're Flores and you go to Chicago, who are you bringing as your OC, man? You know?
Again, all of those things, and there's plenty of good offensive minds around the country, and not all of them have ties to the Shanahan family, so you don't have to worry there.
Yeah, if I'm Flores, I'm bringing Charlie Weiss back into the OC game.
I love Charlie Weiss. Charlie Weiss is like, though he's like he's untouchable. Nobody will touch him anymore. He's toxic. He's toxic.
He did it in for himself when he went to the college game and promised to take these teams to the promised land. You can't do that.
He's tried to get some offensive coordinator jobs, and nobody will.
No.
I mean, he's got a couple.
It's unfortunate.
It is. He's a great offensive mind. He really is.
Yeah.
I think Harbaugh gets this job, and they're going to wait till they hire a GM as well, because Ryan Pace got fired there as well. Probably let Matt Nagy stay this year, which was ridiculous. All they do is set themselves back one more year by not firing the head coach last year.
Well, the thing that Chicago did this year was they gave themselves an opportunity. By having Nagy as a coach and not firing him last year gives him this opportunity now at the fact that there's a lot of good coaching opportunities out there that and the coaches are out there and available. Whereas if we had last year, it was a slim pickings and in the coordinator's positions as well. So.
Well, let's move on to a spot that I know we disagreed on. Vic Faggio gets fired by Denver. Again, I think it's probably a symptom of what you just talked about. It's a win now league, right? And they haven't had a quarterback. I mean, to me, they need to sweep clean, and including John Elway, by the way, needs to get swept out of that organization and start over, because they've been stagnant for years since Peyton Manning retired.
Yeah, and it's bound to happen because they're being sold. So
yeah,
that right there, if I'm Kellen Moore, I'm more interested in that situation than the Texans.
Except you don't have a quarterback. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but you go in with the new GM. You go in with you get the draft. You're probably going to get the draft.
Not a great quarterback class this year, though, coming out this year anyway. So, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is a good stopgap if he can stay on the field. But you're right; that might not be a bad spot for Kellen Moore. I wouldn't disagree.
If I'm a young coach and I'm looking into getting an NFL team, I'm more likely to pick the Broncos over the Texans or the Dolphins. Like I said, you don't want to go in a toxic situation or a bad situation and just be like, if I don't win, I'm gonna stop back quarterback. No matter your race and no matter what your background is you want to win. You want to go into a good situation, and you want to just make sure that you have a good job, like you have a good situation for you. So,
Alan's picked up on your Shanahan hatred as well, by the way.
So we're going to talk about that when we go over the Niners versus the Rams, right?
We'll do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's we got a spot. We kind of glossed over the Raiders. I think they may keep Biasacci here myself. I don't know how you can fire him with the job he's done in some really tough circumstances there in Vegas this year.
I know, and here's the thing: Vegas, the Raiders did themselves a disservice by moving to Vegas, right? Because their fan base is L.A., Oakland, the California. So, I mean, some of these fans are glad to go to Vegas on the weekend to catch a game or two, but Vegas is going to be a tough place to play and coach and be at, because it's just not. I think the NFL was reaching and allowing Vegas as to be there. They have a great stadium,
it's a beautiful stadium.
But,
they're not a team, Again, the fans in Oakland have been just screwed by the NFL year after year. I mean, how many times have the Raiders moved now? They moved to LA and back, and they moved to Inglewood, and they moved to Vegas. I mean, jeepers creepers.
So that's a situation like the. Unfortunately, like that family, that ownership, they're gonna have troubles with a lot of things going in there, and who's gonna want to go to Vegas as a coach with the situation where they're at right now? Like, because that's a tough. They're in a tough conference, anyways, right?
Yeah. That's why I think the coach stays there, and if he doesn't stay, I got a name for you a dark horse, Gerard Mayo. We may get that job if they decide to move on, but I think they're going to keep the interim.
I don't think the Davis family will go Mayo route. I think they'll want to go somebody with the. They'll want to go everybody that has a big name because that's what they traditionally do, right?
There's only one big name available, though. When you think about it, it's Harbaugh or bust. Who else is a big name out there available? There's none. I mean, unless you're going to go to college and get a Luke Fickell, and I think after the Meyer debacle, that's going to be a tough sell this year.
Yeah, man.
That's not to say Luke Fickell wouldn't be a really good NFL coach, by the way, but teams tend to shy away from coaches when these types of things start to happen, right?
Yeah. What's this guy's name who's the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys that coached the Falcons? I forget his name.
Dan Quinn.
I can see Dan Quinn maybe get an offer from the Raiders.
Hey, listen, if you want to blow huge leads in the Super Bowl, Dan Quinn's your guy. That's all I can say.
But the thing is that he's been in the Super Bowl, right?
True. He led the Falcons to a Super Bowl. I will give him credit for that. Their coaching job in the third and fourth quarter will kind of leave for another day. One job left that we haven't talked about is Minnesota. Mike Zimmer gets fired after, he's been there quite a while. He got plenty of chances. The team had some good seasons, got to an NFC championship game, could never get them over the hump. And I think Kirk Cousins was his demise because I don't think he's a guy to take you to the promised land, but probably rightfully he's had his chance and I think he needed to go. And what are your thoughts on that?
Man, I don't think it was just Kirk Cousins, man.
It's not just Kirk Cousins, but he's part of the problem there.
Look, that conference is tough, like because there's only one team that's a winning team, and you're going to be compared to that team every time you get a new season starts, and then you look at your quarterback. It's like, are you comparable to Rodgers, or is this going to be another So,
yeah.
Whoever coaches that team has a decent team, has a decent roster. Just need to make a few moves. But
I got a name for you there too, Doug Peterson.
Yeah, I heard some rumblings about maybe Peterson going to Minnesota. That's not a bad team for him to coach, to be honest with you.
That would be a really good team for him to coach, I think. Yeah. He's coached in the division before. He was a Packers offensive coordinator. I know he got an interview with the Bears already, but I think the Vikings are a better fit for him.
Yeah. I think Peterson in that division makes sense, to be honest with you.
Any final thoughts on the whole coaching carousel up to this point? We'll have lots to talk about as guys start to get hired, obviously.
Right. I feel like they're going to wait till at least the second round of the playoffs. Some of these coaches and some of these teams.
Turned down multiple. Well, he wants to stay in Dallas. Not if he gets offered a bunch of money as a head coach, though. I don't think, Alan, unless they're paying a lot of money in Dallas, which they might be, and he can pick and choose.
Well, here's the thing about Quinn, right? He didn't win the Super Bowl, and if he does win the Super Bowl, he's a better sell, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a bad idea for him to stick in Dallas. I mean, they have an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl at least.
Well, we spent a lot of time there. Let's move on to just to make sure we don't run out of time. We got to get to the wild cards. We may have to skip the NBA again today. We'll get to the NBA.
That's all right.
Let's take a look at tomorrow's matchups. And look, I'm going to start with my game only because I got a comment in here I want to put up because David Guyette is saying he just saw that there's lots of tickets left for the Bills-Jets game. Now, that's probably because it's going to be about 100 degrees below zero with the wind chill, David, probably. But those Bills fans you'd think would be sturdy enough to handle that. Anyway, to get to the game, you know who I'm going to like here, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not because I think Mac Jones is a better quarterback or anything like that. I think the Patriots showed when they played up there in the inclement weather the first time the running game is what's going to be control this. We're not going to have the wind, I don't think, like we had the last time, but it's going to be freezing cold. And I think you're going to need to run the ball. And the Patriots can run the ball with more consistency than Buffalo. And then it's going to be a matter of putting it in the end zone and not kicking field goals and stopping the Bills on third down, which in the last matchup that the Bills won, the Patriots could not get off the field on third down. And they got to contain Josh Allen, keep him in the pocket and not getting these, late runs for first downs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to contain Josh Allen because he's going to run. He has no other. There's no other plan for him to just stay in the pocket and throw. Like, he doesn't have an O-line for that. That running game needs to get started, no matter whether it's Allen, Singletary, or whoever else is on that roster running the ball. The Patriots, because they show more consistency, they have a good O-line. Their defense is actually pretty good. The turnover ratio, the Bills got an uphill battle, and it's not. I don't think, and people are going to blame the coach, but this year I don't think it's going to be the coach's fault. Like he can set up a great game plan, but that team's not deep enough.
Well, I put the GM again, as you just said, the roster is not deep enough, and they did not do anything to improve their running game this year, which is their downfall. You have got to be able to run the ball. It's not a running league. We know that, but you've got to be able to run the ball in big spots and at the end of games to bleed that clock, and they can't do it.
Right. Now, if the Patriots keep the Bills close, you're going to have a game. Like, it's up to them. It's the ball is in the Patriots' court right now. And if they allow this game to go, 14, 16, whatever it is, if they keep it too close, because Josh Allen, man, he can run and he can throw the ball. So, and he's clutch. So
another thing the Patriots can't do is get behind early in the game. They've had very slow starts for the last month. It cannot continue. They can't fall behind 14, 17, nothing like they have been.
That defense is key. That defense has to make sure they go out there and not have third downs happen like they did the last game, where they just kept giving the Bills all those third downs and moving them back up to first, giving them the first downs again. And hey, the Patriots know the team and they know how to beat them. So if you go into somebody's yard and you got all the everything about them, you got to go in there and put it on them, man. Like, I see this game, it can go either way, and it's up to the Patriots, man.
I think it'll be a very close game. I think it's going to be 21-18.
Like I said, if the Patriots don't score the first two touchdowns and just run the ball, they keep Allen close, you could see an overtime game, man.
You could. David Gadd's calling for snow. I think the snow might be on Sunday, David. I'm not sure. I'll check the forecast before we chat. Well, I guess by the time we chat again, I'll be be over.
Look, Keith, this is where the experience of your quarterback is going to take hold, right? Josh Allen has a couple more years on his belt. He's been in the playoffs, So,
Allen's got the Bills 27-13.
Yeah, look, Keith. This is where the rubber meets the road, man. The Patriots got it. If the Patriots play like they play all year, right, and not make this a new season, they're good. But if they go in there and the Bills go in there thinking this is a new season, and the Patriots go in there and think that they're just going to win this game,
listen to Allen's comment about trusting Josh Allen more than Mac Jones. If the game came down to a shootout between Josh Allen and Mac Jones, well, I agree with you.
Right.
But the way the Patriots use Mac Jones, and if they're able to use him the way he is most successful, I trust Mac Jones in that situation more than Josh Allen, because Allen's going to be asked to do so much.
Right. So this is a Belichick team, right? So
sure is.
They're not going to give Allen. They're not going to give Allen the opportunity, but they have to put the points on the board. Okay, because if you make this a close game, you go into overtime, buddy. Because Allen is a clutch player, and not just Allen, but these Bills, they're scrappy. So just keep them from having.
And both teams here, you're wishy-washy here, Carlos. Not like you.
And I just I've told people that I don't believe in the Bills. I called them pretenders, and now they got to play a team with a quarterback that doesn't have any experience. So to me, this game's a toss-up, and I'm not betting on this game at all.
I'll be taking the 4 points in this game. I can tell you.
Good luck. Have fun with that.
Tell you right now. All right. If I was favored, I probably wouldn't be betting the game. I can tell you.
No, but the Patriots are favored to win this game.
No. The Bills are a 4-point favorite.
Are they right now?
Right now, as we speak.
4 points? Oh,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I'm not betting on this game.
Down. Actually, no, I'm thinking of last week's game. No, it started at 4 and it's still at 4. Yep. So anyway, let's move on because we're going to run out of time before long. And I definitely want to spend a few minutes on the 49ers in Dallas, since you have your strong feelings about the Shanahan, the entire legacy of the Shanahan family. We got the 49ers at the Dallas Cowboys Sunday at 4:30. Shanahan, look at this team I think he's done a decent coaching job to get this team into the playoffs with what he's got to work with. Jimmy G is not an all-world quarterback. You watched that game against the Rams last week, and they were very innovative with the things they did with the run game, and they didn't ask Jimmy G to do a lot. And this is the way they got to the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl, but this is the way they got to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, is Jimmy G throwing the ball 8 times a game.
Yeah, so Jimmy G, he's the key to this game for the 49ers. I mean, he don't perform, it's going to be lights out for him. He's done in San Francisco.
I don't see
the 49ers giving them that much of a fight, to be honest with you. Like, Dallas's defense is pretty tough. And Dallas has a few injuries on their offense, so
I do like Dallas here a lot. Dak Prescott's thrown 13 touchdowns with no interceptions the last month of the season. He's played very well. Dallas is really kind of rolling a bit. I think the 49ers will find a way to keep it close, but I think the Cowboys will win this game at the end, possibly by better than 10 points. So close doesn't mean it won't end up 14-point game at the end. It can still be a close game. I'll take the Cowboys here as well. And
I'm looking for this running game of the Cowboys to come on, man, open up, man. It's got you got 2 guys back there, man. Like, run the ball, man. Like, get wear down this defense. Like,
I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure Zeke's the best running back in that backfield, to be honest with you.
I just don't think he's been, I don't know, like, on his game, man. Like, now he's in the playoffs, so if he rushes for more than 60 yards, man.
I mean, Pollard's been hurt too, so Zeke's been getting more action recently. But if they have Pollard and Zeke healthy, it's going to be hard for the 49ers to control that running game and the passing game that Dak leads, which is one of the best in the league.
Well, Gallup being out hurts a little bit, stretching the field, right? Because you're down.
Cowboys 27-20. I like that score, actually.
Not bad.
Score too, Alan.
Yeah.
27-20 Dallas.
I was thinking more 27-24, but yeah. All right, Alan. That's a good score.
Let's go back to the tomorrow's games. The early game is at 4:30, and again, it's going to be pretty cold in Cincinnati, but at least they're playing before the it gets warm. The Raiders going to Cincinnati and playing I got to tell you, this Bengal team, if there's a sleeper in this playoffs, and that's not named the Patriots, sorry, I'll try not to be a homer all the time. If there's a sleeper in the AFC, and by the way, everything's wide open in both conferences, I think. Almost any one of these teams could get hot and go all the way. The Bengals are a team to watch out for, though, because they've got what Buffalo's lacking in that big run back, and they're much more complete on the offensive side of football than, say, Buffalo is. And Joe Burrow and those wide receivers have just been clicking all year. So I like the Bengals here over the Raiders. The Raiders have done a good job getting here, but I like Joe Burrow and that Joe Mixon run game to beat the Raiders in this game, and maybe handily. I know you're a big Derek Carr fan, so what does he got?
Yeah, I mean, again, Cincinnati, man, come out and put those points on the board, because you don't want David Carr. You don't want the ball in his hands. Like, and he might not be consistent in the first and second quarters, but.
Well, we may not get to this entire topic I wanted to talk about, which was quarterbacks we trust most and least. But Alan knew we were going to talk about it, and he says the guy he trusts most of all the quarterbacks in the playoff, all 14, is Joe Burrow. And that's a bold prediction. You can drop the mic there, Alan, because I love Joe Burrow, but I don't think he's the guy I would trust the most.
Nah, not yet.
I would trust most is the oldest guy in the field still. If I had to rely on a guy to win one game, it would be Tom Brady.
34-17 is the prediction you got. 34-17.
Well, that's probably a game. Alan,
if you're Cincinnati, you better put up those points, man. Like if you keep it closer than that, again, it's gonna be like the Patriots and Bills game. You keep it close, man. Carr is he's clutch, man. And
This is a young team, and again, they cannot be falling behind early in this game. I think
they got to go. They got to rev up that engine, and they got to keep the pedal to the metal, man. Listen, and if Carr gets hurt, they don't have a scrub backup. You know, I'm a Mariota fan, and I feel like he got the worst of it for being in the Titans when they were down there back in the day because they got too many coordinators for him. But he can. Mariota can run and he can sling the rock, so he's not a shabby guy, man.
When the Patriots were looking for a quarterback before they brought Cam in, they kicked the tires on bringing in Mariota. I think he was a free agent at the time, and they didn't do it. But I would favor that.
Yeah, Mariota would have been definitely on the Patriots if they didn't have to pay that contract. So,
what else we got here? Let's see. We got the Eagles and Tampa Bay. Listen, the Eagles have had a better year than I thought they'd have, but I think they're going to be in way over their head at Tampa Bay.
You don't think they're going to be able to give Tampa Bay any fight?
No, I think this game will be a 2-touchdown win for the Buccaneers.
If it comes down to look, again, teams like Kansas City, Tampa Bay, they got to score and score fast and just keep the head straight. Like, don't give these teams a fighting chance, man, because a lot of guys like to scrap, right? Like, I think the Eagles can be in a dogfight with Tampa Bay if Tampa Bay doesn't do what they're supposed to do. Like,
I'll tell you what. Any David Gayet's asking any prediction on an upset this weekend. The next game I'm going to talk about is where I think the biggest upset of the weekend is going to come, and that's the Steelers
and Kansas City
at the Chiefs. You don't sell the Steelers short. And the thing, look, and I'm not a Ben Roethlisberger fan. He's a tough guy, though. If he gets time, which he may do this weekend, if they give him time, he can still beat you. And the defense is pretty good. The Chiefs have been really out of sync a lot of the year, even last week when they did come back and win that game. Was it last week I'm thinking of? They played I can't think anyway, it doesn't matter. Every week I watch them, they just don't seem like the
come out
or not they were the last couple of years. I like the Steelers to go to Kansas City and win this game. So there's your upset from me, Dave.
Yeah, if Juju comes back and plays well, they give him an opportunity in the offense to score points. Because that's what they've been lacking in Pittsburgh is in the third and fourth quarter is putting up those points. Listen, Kansas City, they're at home, and the weather is going to be a factor for both teams.
They're both cold weather teams, though, so it's not.
Yeah, but nobody wants, as much as they play in it, and they say they both. Nobody wants to play in cold weather. That's it.
If the weather is bad and it affects the throwing the football or whatever, I trust the Steelers' run game more than the Chiefs' run game too. So,
well, the Chiefs don't have a bad running back. The problem is that they gotta give him they're gonna have to give him the ball. They gotta trust him to run the ball, right?
Yeah, and if this is a close game, I trust. And I love Andy Reid. Don't get me wrong. But if this is a close game and it comes down to kind of managing the clock, I trust Mike Tomlin a lot more than Andy Reid because Andy Reid and the clock are not friends.
The Chiefs need to run this ball. They need to score quick, run this ball. If they give any opportunity for the Steelers to get that defense going.
You know what I'm going to do, Alan? I'm going to pick this game exactly the opposite, 19-13, but in regulation. That's my prediction for that game.
Yeah, I think this game's going to go close, and Pittsburgh could be upset team.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the Cardinals and the Rams Monday at 8 o'clock, which, by the way, is a huge, I think, hurdle for these teams to play Monday night, no matter which day. They're not going to play Saturday next week. We know that. Right. But they can play on Sunday. They come up with a day less to prepare than any other team. I understand they want to spread out these games and get some viewers on Monday night, but this is not fair to these two teams that have to play this game. Not the two teams. It's the team that comes out the winner. Is going to be an unfair advantage, put at an unfair disadvantage, I think. Rams have not been playing really well. We watched them blow a lead to the 49ers last week. The Cardinals don't look like they looked early in the year. This could be a game of attrition. I think the Rams will come out ahead in this game. Even though I picked the Cardinals early in the year to be my sleeper, I like the Rams to come out ahead in this game.
What's the final word? Is Watt playing this game or not?
I do not think there's a final word. He may be a game time decision. I'm looking at some stuff right now. I do not see any definitive word. I think he's going to end up being a game time decision.
Right. Be that as may, like you gotta that defense can slow down the Cardinals, but if Kyler Murray's on his A game, it's gonna be a good matchup for the first few quarters. But if you're the Cardinals, man, you better score them points, man. Don't keep the Rams close, man, because Stafford is clutch.
Right. Well, we only got a couple minutes left. Real quick, we'll touch on this. We don't have a lot of time to spend on it, but I wanted to touch on who do you trust the most, who do you trust the least in these playoffs? I'm going to say at the top of my list, Brady, and as much as I don't like the guy, Aaron Rodgers, your guy, are the two guys I would trust the most with a game on the line in the playoffs. And the two guys I trust the least, I will tell you right now, would be Derek Carr and Matthew Stafford. Two very experienced quarterbacks with lots of numbers, but no playoff success.
Yeah. See, I trust the most. I'm gonna go Tannehill, man. Smart quarterback. He sees what he plays with what he got, and I think he's gonna be the key for the Titans. Even though they bring Henry back, Tannehill's got to make good decisions. And he's been doing it all year. For the offense. Now his defense has to come to play every game, but I trust Tannehill, and I don't trust Ben Roethlisberger, man. If you got to make sure you throw that 30 or 40-yard pass and in the wind, I don't know if he'd be able to make that.
Well, it's going to be an interesting weekend this weekend. Again, my big upset will be the Steelers. And I got to trust Ben this week. As much as I don't like him, give him time, though. He can still beat you.
Oh, man.
I can get out of the way of guys faster than he can. I'm 61 years old. Jesus. Come on, Ben. So, anyway, we're going to start to wrap it up here. Carlos, thanks for coming in, and I'm glad you're all right. I was worried about you this morning. We'll get to these other topics we didn't get to, mostly the NBA. Maybe we'll talk more about the quarterbacks next week that are left, but we'll slowly talk about the playoffs as we go through. Coming up later today, do not miss after this show will air at 12 o'clock on Roku. You'll get Let's Talk New York Sports with myself and Dan Harris, who was just in. Good to see you, Dan, this morning. And at 4 o'clock, you're going to get the Sports Scopes with Robert Butler. Later on, you've got Dan back again with Let's Talk Sports at what time is he on? 4 p.m., I guess, or 5 p.m. Big Shaw is on at 6, and Captain Jack is on at I got this all mixed up. The times are wrong. 5 for Big Shaw, 5 for Captain Jack. So tune in Roku, guys. Get your stick. Get your Roku stick. If you got a Roku TV, look for the Northeast Streaming Sports channel. And there's been some good stuff, and there's some good on-demand stuff there as well. So we look forward to seeing you all there, and you can watch us live on our traditional outlets as well. So we'll wrap it up there. Carlos, thanks for having me. And thanks for coming in today, as always, and co-hosting with me. And we'll get to that NBA at some time. I promise you guys. Carlos got a lot
about Tibbs and the Knicks.
Have a great weekend, guys.